step forward. Bye.
Dad bike. Hello, hello. A fun one today. 2010 VFR1200F. Let's go for a ride today and see if this 170 horsepower V4 Sport Tourer is the ultimate dad bike.
All right, so 2010 VFR1200F. This is a very, very interesting, slightly confused beast of a motorcycle. Obviously my personal bike. I've had this thing for 4 years now, and this was my first go fast bike. A 600-pound, 170 horsepower, almost 100 foot-pound of torque V4 with a drive shaft and saddlebags and tank storage that I added afterwards. Very interesting bike, and I think that this is the most understated dad bike of all the dad bikes that have ever dad biked.
A tank bag as an added accessory. OEM from Honda, because of course, dad bike. Very easily removable luggage. It takes one key, no tools, because of course, dad bike. Insert key, unlock, lift the handle, bags come off, just like that. Place the bags back on. Drop them in, drop the handle, bags back on. Dad bike. Awesome storage, plenty of space, dad bike. Same thing on the other side, dad bike.
So, first 30 seconds as we take it through this neighborhood for some slow speed stuff. This is a high horsepower sport touring V4 motorcycle. It is interesting and it doesn't know where it belongs. It has more power than most like sport bikes, strangely enough. It has more horsepower than all of the sports tourers. More sports tourers are 120, 130. Some of them get to 140, 150 horsepower, like the Concourse 1400. But this bike, 170.
I will say this, engine very well hidden. You literally can't see anything but that side case right there. Does have a center stand because, of course, dad bike.
And at slow speed stuff, Honda did this fancy thing due to our friend Mr. EPA, where it restricted first and second gear. So first and second gear under 4,000 RPMs are very, very heavily restricted. So strangely enough, at low RPMs, the bike is really smooth. I will say, being a 600-pound sport tourer, it's not the easiest to handle, but it is actually really smooth, and the low speed stuff isn't great, but it's not terrible, to be very honest with you. If you're in first gear, it kind of sputters a little bit at the very, very low RPMs, but second gear for the most part is pretty smooth, and I don't really have any complaints about it around the slow speed stuff. Third gear is really where the bike starts to become very, very comfortable, but it has a crap ton of torque, man. It has like 90 foot-pounds of torque. It is a V4, so it does make power down low, and it makes a crap ton of power in the middle. It's pretty impressive, and it handles itself well on these slow speed stuffs. Way better than any sport bike, way better than any 1000 inline 4. Because it's a V4, it has torque, it has power, and you can do stuff like this with a little bit of clutch control, no feet down. The bike is pretty well balanced. I will say this bike has heli bars, so they're a little bit raised from the actual bars. The original bars are probably the top of the bars underneath where this one is, so it's not factory, so it gives you a little bit more verticality, a little bit more upright in the posture. Rear brake on this bike I love. It's a heavy rear brake, it's tight, you press the rear brake and you're actually slowing down. It doesn't take a lot of travel, it doesn't take a lot of effort, and you can use the rear brake on its own around all the slow speed stuff, and you don't have to worry about the fronts. But the front brakes on this bike are amazing. These are the greatest brakes I have felt on any motorcycle. They are 6-piston Nissan calipers on each side. I don't know what size the rotor is, I'll put it right here, but these brakes are amazing. They're better than the 4-pots on the R1. They're better than literally any other motorcycle I've ridden. This thing has the best brakes out of all the bikes that I've ever ridden, period.
I'm not even sure how they were thinking about this. Like I said, ultimate dad bike. 6-piston Nissan front calipers, fully adjustable upside down forks. This thing is crazy. I was out riding one day and I accidentally grabbed a little bit too much front brake, and look what happened to the rotors. I don't know if you guys can see those little score marks, but those are actually divots from when the ABS was letting go, it actually dented the rotor from how much grab these front brakes have, and it's a sport tourer.
Speeding up a little bit, getting into the middle speeds, kind of taking off in traffic. The bike, again, smooth. It is a V4. It has a lot of power down low. It has a lot of grunt. It does not take a lot of throttle to get this bike moving. I would say the seat's a little bit slippery. The seat's a little bit hard. The feet are in a sport bike position, so I'm kind of not 90 at the hips, but a little bit lean forward and about like that. So sporty relaxed, I would say. So not as much as a full like 600 where you're super duper crouched, but it is still sporty. Your ankles is kind of under your butt a little bit between. Not too bad for a longer distance. Now I will say this, it doesn't have a lot of place to move around. I mean, your feet are kind of in position, but you don't really have much other places to put your feet. Now, as fast as this bike is, that is needed, because this bike will move. 170 horsepower, even if it's 600 pounds, is absolutely no joke. We'll say this bike sounds awesome. I'll get some sound clips later, but that Leo Vinci exhaust does this thing justice.
We got to get a listen to this thing because the sound of this is beautiful. Glorious!
Now, cruising on this bike is a dream. This is one of those bikes that you cannot and will not tell how fast you are going. The GoPro is conveniently blocking the speedometer for this entire video, so I do not have to blur how fast we're going, but I can never tell. This bike, every time I drive and I look forward and I'm going whatever speed I'm going, I look down and I go, holy crap, that's how fast I'm going. I could be going 30, I could be going 60, I could be going 100. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's going as fast as it's going ever, which is very, very good. I mean, this bike, I prefer this bike for long cruises. When I go out and I go to Whole Shot to record those videos, that's about a 45-minute drive for me from my house to over there, and it's mainly highway, and I take this bike. Like, this bike cruises at 100, 110 miles per hour. Not saying that I've done that. We're talking hypothetically here. It has the ability to cruise at 110, 120 like it's nothing. In 6th gear, I have the Givey screen, so it's extended a little bit. The factory screen goes up to about here, and this bike eats highway miles up. I'm talking, you're cruising and you don't feel it. Sometimes I do this thing where I go back onto the back seat just to make it a little bit more comfortable, and I just ride just like this, and I lean forward a little bit to get the wind out of my face. And this is a dream highway bike, and we're talking just cruising. It's also a sport bike, so therefore it can handle a little bit. Does it handle like 1,000? No. Does it handle like a 600? Hell no. You can feel the weight. This bike takes work to handle. To flick this bike back and forth, you got to put input into it. This is a 600-pound bike in the sport design, so it's obviously a sport tourer, and you got to hustle this bike, man. This is not a small bike. This is not a nimble bike per se. You gotta fight with it, but when you do, it's a dream to ride. Once you figure out how to ride this bike and when and where you need to put inputs and how this bike goes back and forth, it really does handle everything really well. Just like these turns right here, these are big Florida sweepers, a little bit of rear brake on through the throttle, and it just goes. A little bit of front brake, lean in, woo! It handles all of these bumps like nothing. The suspension on this bike is awesome because it's not as aggressive as a 1,000 and a 600. It still has relatively plush suspension. Because it's a heavy bike, it works the shocks. It has travel. I can take this bike on a road trip and feel very comfortable over the long haul. Like, it is not the stiffest bike out there. Does it handle sporty? Yes. I can go back and forth. I can hit. You can feel the suspension oscillate. You can feel the suspension sit. But you can still cruise like this in traffic, right? It's a missile. It doesn't have cruise control. This year doesn't have cruise control. It actually doesn't have traction control either. 2010, the first year, the other ones have a little TC button right there where you can turn it off. This bike does not have that. This bike just has an electronic throttle, and it is very, very basic. ABS, and that's it, which I enjoy.
Drive shaft, so no need for regular chain maintenance. Super easy. Dad bike. Center stand for getting the back wheel up, changing your oil, making life a whole lot easier. Dad bike. Glorious, glorious. Single-sided swing arm that you cannot see because I have it covered up by this Leo Vinci exhaust. But guess what? Dad bike.
The V4 of this bike, even right here, 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. Very, very little throttle. It will eat up speed. And again, I don't know how fast I was going, but it does it effortlessly, man. The acceleration on this bike is crazy. Also, I don't have footage because this is before I started recording, but the first time I took this bike out and got comfortable enough to ride it fast, I went out with a buddy of mine named Josh. Josh, at the time, had a 2018 CBR 1000R non-S. So this was before the quadruple R, triple R, before all that dumb shit. It was an SP, it was a non-SP, so CBR 1000. And this bike is faster than that in the middle gears. So second gear, third gear, this bike pulls harder. We did not go all the way through sixth gear, but third and fourth, I took off. Let's catch that Porsche. Hi. Oh man, emissions restrictions on this bike are terrible, and I will tell you why. First gear, second gear, you get about 60% power. First gear, second gear, you can punch it, it doesn't give you all the beans. Third gear through fifth gear gives you all the beans, and this is a much different machine in third, fourth, and fifth than it is first, second, and sixth. It is crazy. I need to get a tune to unleash the beast, we'll call it. But this bike takes off.
To me, the front end of this thing looks like a spaceship. Stacked headlights, so it's nice and symmetrical. Dad bike.
And third gear, 5,000 RPM. Power! Look how quickly we catch up to these cars. Oh my god, dude, the acceleration on this bike is 100% effortless. It gets in the middle, 5,000-6,000 RPM, it gets, but it carries literally all the way to red line. This thing is effortless. You cannot tell that this is a 600-pound bike. Like, this thing is fast. It's legit fast. That is why I love this bike. It is not for your average dad, in the sense that most sport tours are comfortable cruisers. You get a little bit of speed, but nah, this bike is fast. Like, you pull up next to 1,000 on this VFR1200 and it'll beat it. I have R1. I have a 98 R1, first gen R1. This VFR, faster, 100%. Yes, it's heavier, but it's heavier, more comfortable, better brakes, has the bags. And I could do it with a passenger behind me, and this thing is effortless, and it is faster than that 1,000. It is crazy. Is it as fast as the new V4s, the Aprilia RS V4, the Ducati V4? No, it's not. It's from 2010. Those bikes got 15 years on it, and they have a little bit more tech than this does in terms of dual overhead cams, and they have different stuff. But either way, it's still faster than your average 1,000. I mean, the R1 that I ran with my R1, which was a 09, 180 horsepower. This is 170, right? So it's literally the speed of 1,000, but it's comfortable. We're cruising right now, 75 miles an hour, 4,500 RPMs. The screen is covering everything but my face. I'm literally just comfortable and chilling right now. This bike is unbelievable. I got bags on right now. Wow. Oh, hello, officer. I wasn't going that fast.
Fully undressed, no bags. It looks nice and sleek, so it still looks like a sport bike. Dad bike.
Yeah, this bike is freaking raw and aggressive. I mean, look at this. 4,500, third gear, pin it. Oh, that is incredible. And then you can do this. Sit back, 3,500 RPM, 6th gear, 60 miles an hour, and just cruise. Light throttle, just hanging out. Nice little views, take it easy. This is like a Sunday weekend cruise. You can lean over if you want to. The bike will lay down, it'll take corners nicely. You have bags for storage, you got options like a tank bag. Like, this bike is for the sophisticated hooligan. You used to have 1,000, you used to have a 600, now you got a family, you're in dad mode, but you still like to have fun. You still like to go out on the weekend and have spirited rides. This bike has all of the spirit left in its ride. You can go as fast as you did when you had 1,000, and you have bags, and you can go for a long distance. This is a manual, but you can get it in automatic. And look at this. Right here, take a nice little bend. Whoop. Nice and easy. These types of turns are literally like nothing. It's still a sport bike. And you just throttle out. Whoop. And it sounds amazing. It's not crazy loud. It's not the highest decibel readings, but it's a deep tone that carries very well. So, final thoughts on the 2010 VFR1200F. You guys missed out. All of you people that didn't buy it when this bike was brand new and now it's cheap-ish, missed out. This bike is glorious. Glorious. It's a comfortable ride. It's fast. It has non-intrusive tech for the most part outside of ABS. It's obviously Honda build, quality, reliability. These things have hundreds of thousands of miles in Europe because there's a lot more of them in Europe than there are here because those people are smart. But honestly, overall, it's a great sport tourer. If you're looking for a sport touring bike and you actually still want speed and you actually still want to go out and ride and you enjoy being a hooligan yet being comfortable and having some storage capacity, this is the sports tourer for you. Most other sports tourers are true dad bikes in the sense that they are more tame, more reasonable, more responsible. This isn't that.
So with all that being said, I got this bike because it was fast, it was comfortable, it had storage. I'm still young and sporty and like to go fast, but guess what? I'm a dad. This thing gives me the best of all of the worlds. I can go on a long distance trip, I can go and hoon around with some friends, I can take it easy and have a nice Sunday cruise. I can do anything and everything that I want on this bike. When I'm out here recording videos and I go to different places and I have all my camera equipment, I pack it up in the saddlebags and I just rock and roll. I can get there quickly and comfortably. I personally do think that this is the best sports tourer on the market. It did not sell well in the United States, so there's not very many of them, but now's the time. You can pick one of these things up for like 6,500 bucks, and I genuinely think that that is a hell of a bargain. If you enjoy more reviews like this, check out this one right here. And of course, when I get out here, it starts raining and everything gets wet because dad bike.